Now, more of Patricia Raskin, Positive Living, on News Talk 630, WPRO, and 99.7 FM. To speak with Patricia and her guest, call 438-WPRO or toll free at 1-800-321-WPRO. Now, here's Patricia Raskin.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Welcome to the second half hour of the first hour.
Oh, it's great.
Right here on Patricia Raskin, Positive Living. And I'm here with my terrific co-host.
You're too kind, believe me.
Yes, Ron Tipp.
Oh, terrific.
Hollywood,
Okay.
Hollywood producer extraordinaire.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I want to tell you folks that I have a page on Facebook, Patricia Raskin, but I also have Patricia Raskin Positive Radio. So if you'd like to write something or ask your question through Facebook, please do so now. It is up. And if you'd like to ask some questions or give us a call, 438-9776, which stands for WPRO, or 800-321-WPRO-9776. Okay, I have to introduce my special guest in a very special way.
Absolutely.
My guest today is Susan Anderson, and I can't just say Susan Anderson, the author of Taming Your Outer Child, a revolutionary program to overcoming self-defeating patterns. Now, I want to say something about Susan. Susan is a best-selling author, and her other books have been about abandonment. And her books have been The Journey from Abandonment to Healing and Black Swan, The 12 Lessons of Abandonment Recovery. And I want to tell you that she was one of the pioneers and founder of the abandonment recovery movement. Hello, Susan, and then I'm going to keep bragging. Hello, my dear Susan.
Hi, Patricia. I'm happy to be here today.
Me too. Now, I want to tell you, and I will tell you, Ron.
Yes.
I usually don't get personal, but I will.
Okay.
Okay.
It's good.
We're in therapy.
We're
in therapy, Ron.
We're talking to somebody who cares about those
That's
things.
right. Okay. About 5 or 6 years ago, when I was going through my divorce, it was a tough thing because there was abandonment involved. And I had a dear friend, and she said to me, let me tell you, when I was going through my breakup, she said, I read a book, and it was unbelievable, and it was the only thing that helped me. And I said, who's it by? And she said, Susan Anderson. So I was doing my radio show. So I wrote to Susan Anderson, and she was incredible and actually helped me through what I was going through. So, Susan, a big thank you. It's 5-6 years later. I am healed, and I'm moving on in a very positive life, and I want to thank you.
Oh, thanks, Patricia.
All right. And since then, and I haven't had Susan on the show in several years, she has a brand new book. And her brand new book is Taming Your Outer Child, a revolutionary program to overcoming self-defeating patterns. So what you've done, Susan, is you've broadened this. So not just for people who are being abandoned, but also for anybody who sometimes makes a bad decision or just is having trouble with blame and shame of themselves.
That's right. It's actually the outer child represents the part of the personality that breaks your diet and gets attracted to the wrong people and takes the second glass of wine and then the third or overshops, etc. And the aftermath of abandonment is the development of self-defeating patterns. When you have unresolved abandonment, there's a tendency to have a whole aftermath of self-sabotage going on in your life. Usually you see it in terms of the choices you make in relationships. You keep picking abandoners. You become attracted to the unavailable as one of the patterns. And so that's what prompted me to do the research for Outer Child, to develop an understanding of all the different patterns that people develop as a result of going through abandonment or other traumas.
All right, so here's my question. When you say that people who have picked unavailable people or abandoners, they tend to do that again, is that because that's what they're familiar with? It's like the kid who's been abused will pick an abuser?
It is kind of, because what Outer Child is it's the post-traumatic repetition compulsions that we have. That's a term borrowed from trauma recovery. When you have a traumatic experience, one of the defense mechanisms that you have is you repeat the trauma over and over again. It's part of your post-traumatic response to the trauma. So in this case, abandonment is a trauma, and then you have this tendency to repeat the trauma by choosing these unavailable partners. And yes, it's because it's what you're familiar with and you're practicing that you're thinking this time I'll get it right.
How common is this, Susan?
It's very, very common, and it can be very subtle. you can come out of an abandonment and this time try to choose someone who's different from the one who hurt you the last time, only to find out that you've chosen someone who appears to be very available, but the minute you become attached, he or she runs the other way.
Interesting. Ron.
Susan, from your perspective, and for the layman and for the people listening who don't know and are not educated about this, like myself, for example, how would you define abandonment? Because when I think of it, I think it's sort of like somebody leaves you at the doorstep and disappears.
Well, that is what it is.
Well, but I mean,
it?
Is it more than that, or is there another definition you would use?
That probably says it, because sometimes we feel that life itself has abandoned us. If we get sick or we lose our job, we feel as though we've somehow been left behind. But the context that people usually think of abandonment is the context of heartbreak. When someone makes you feel rejected, dismissed, unloved, unwanted, if someone actually breaks up with you and leaves you, these are experiences in life that trigger these powerful, powerful abandonment feelings and fears that we've had since childhood.
You said the interesting words, makes you feel, so that somebody is doing something to somebody else. Is it ever self-imposed?
There's such a thing as self-abandonment, which is really what happens in adult life when you're in a relationship and it doesn't work out and the person is pulling away from you. There's a tendency for us to blame ourselves and doubt ourselves, doubt our own self-worth, and become discouraged and feel defeated. We have self-defeat. And those are all ways that we abandon ourselves. And the antidote to that is to reverse that self-abandonment and adopt ourselves.
And that's what we're going to talk about next. Folks, give us a call. Have you ever felt abandoned? Whether you've lost someone in your life, whether someone has left you, whether you've lost a job, but you feel abandoned, please call in. Susan Anderson is the founder of the Abandonment Recovery Movement. She's outstanding at what she does, and I can tell you firsthand. And she really is outstanding. So give us a call, 438-WPRO, 800-321-WPRO, and those call letters stand for 9776. You can also get a copy of her book, which I'm holding up in the webcam, Taming Your Outer Child, a revolutionary program to overcoming self-defeating patterns. Okay, so give us a call. Go ahead. Susan,
is it mostly common for people with alcohol, drug, sexual abuse problems to come from abandonment issues?
Yes, very often people who have forms of addiction, you look to see some trauma in their childhood or in their history, and what you very often find is abandonment, because alcohol medicates abandonment, alcohol and drugs. It's not very positive medication because it's addictive and it can ruin a person's life and the family's life around it. But when the person is over drinking, they are actually feeling at the moment better. And that's an outer child characteristic. It's feeling good in the moment at the expense of your future plan.
Right. So how can we start to recover ourselves? As you write in the book, improve your love life, stay on a diet, reach your goals. What are some of the things we can start to do to help ourselves, Susan?
Well, the first thing you have to do is to be able to improve your sense of future. Most of us have a sense of future that contains a little anxiety in it. There are things we know we want, but we have a fear that we'll never get them. So we sort of say, I wish I could do such and such, or I hope that I can find the love I've always wanted. But when we wish or hope, it's accompanied with an anxiety. And there are exercises, mental exercises, that actually act like physical therapy for the brain that allow you to improve your sense of future, so that instead of having anxiety in your image of your future, you have a pure, clear image of a positive future, and you plant that image on your mind, and that becomes a very helpful tool because it guides your behavior. That's just step one.
All right, but what happens after step one when you have that clear picture, Susan, and then all of a sudden, 2 days later, the fear comes in? What if I can't do it? What if I get left again? What if I can't make money? What if, what if the person makes fun of me? I mean, all those things start to come in, even after step one.
Well, what you're describing there are the calls of the inner child, the image that you implant on your mind, you use as a mantra, and you return to it every time you catch yourself, falling into your self-doubt. You just simply return to that positive image that you've created But the feelings that come up, we don't just sort of positive image our way out of them. Unfortunately, we need a three-pronged approach here. And the inner child is expressing its feelings within you. It's saying, I feel afraid, I feel doubt, I don't feel good about myself, I'm afraid of the future. So we have to address those feelings in a very powerful way. We have to adopt our inner child and embrace all of those feelings of fear, because, we can't help our feelings. If we feel sad and hurt and afraid and all of those things, those are feelings. All we can do when we have a feeling is embrace those feelings and, as adults, work to change the circumstances around those feelings so that we can feel better. But we can't just snap our fingers and make the feelings go away. And so step 2 is all about accepting the feelings, and it's an actual exercise that is easy to do. It's a written exercise to accept those feelings and actually work to change the circumstances that's creating the feeling.
So, in other words, the feeling might be, I'm afraid I won't make income, or I'm afraid that person will leave me. And you admit those, and then you actively work in the other direction to make it happen.
Yes, through the dialogue, it involves imagining that your inner child is almost a separate little person within you, and you adopt that person, and you make promises to that little person. You validate her feelings and say, I know you feel that way, and I appreciate you letting me know. And here's what I'm going to do today to just take a baby step to help you in some way. And, of course, you then keep your promise to your inner child. But this is done. It sounds very nebulous to talk about it verbally, but when you write this and you use your writing skills, which involves scribbling on a piece of paper, but just doing that is exercise for your brain. You're bringing your emotions and your problem solving and your adult higher self, your reasoning skills to the table all at once in a graphomotor task, and it really exercises your brain in a very positive way. It helps you to change patterns.
So it's in sort of, again, back to sort of really layman, simple terms, it sounds to me like the offshoot of abandonment is a tremendous amount of, beating oneself up, and not nurturing oneself, when in fact the antidote to that is treating yourself well and being positive about everything. Am I in the right direction with that?
Treating yourself well and being very self-validating, accepting your feelings as they are.
And not self-sabotaging, which seems to be the root of so much of this stuff, right?
Yes, but that's what comes out of not being able to connect with yourself, is the self-sabotaging, and that's where the outer child comes in.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, you can give us a call after the break, folks, if you feel that you've been abandoned in any way, and I think we've all felt that, Ron.
Of course.
All felt abandoned, for whatever it is. Even if, we've had a practitioner we've worked with, or we had a bookkeeper.
At a job, you've been fired.
You've been fired, or somebody betrayed our trust. No matter what it is. Okay, 438-WPRO-9776 or 800-321-WPRO-9776 after the break. You can get a copy of Susan Anderson's new book, Taming Your Outer Child, a revolutionary program to overcoming self-defeating patterns by Susan Anderson. And you can also go to her website. Susan, what is your website again?
It's outerchild.net.
Okay, outerchild.net. All right, you're listening to Patricia Raskin, Positive Living, right here on News Talk 630 WPRO and 99.7 FM, and on the web at 630WPRO.com with my terrific co-host Ron Tipp and Susan Anderson, who's an expert in abandonment. And again, you can go to outerchild.net. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. You are listening to Patricia Raskin, Positive Living, right here on News Talk 630 WPRO 99.7 FM, and on the web, which we are on at 630WPRO.com with my great co-host Ron Tipp.
What a fascinating topic.
And Susan is terrific.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I know.
Fantastic.
Susan Anderson. Now, I will just tell you quickly, because we only have 4 minutes to break. Susan is the author of The Journey from Abandonment to Healing, and then Black Swan, 12 Lessons of Abandonment Recovery and the Journey from Heartbreak to Connection. She is the creator of the outer child concept and the founder of the abandonment recovery movement. I would suggest this to you folks, because I just talked to Susan. If you have any abandonment issues and you'd like some help, Susan just gets so many emails she can't answer you personally, but if you write to her and say, I heard it on Positive Living, Patricia Raskin Positive Living, I should say. I need to say that with my name in front of it. If you say that you heard it on Patricia Raskin Positive Living, she will put you in her database and send you information so that you'll get information about all of the tests and the surveys that she has on her website. And it might bring her back more often to answer questions right on the air. All right, Susan, and her brand new book is Taming Your Outer Child, a revolutionary program to overcoming self-defeating patterns. Susan, closing thoughts for us. What would you like to leave our listeners with?
Yes, the people I work with on their abandonment issues, the most vexing part of it are the patterns that they develop. It's getting out of their patterns of abandonment, the cycles of being self-defeating in the choices that they make. And so there's so much help available on that subject of how to overcome your self-defeating patterns, which is what motivated me to write the book. And also I run workshops all over the country to help people work on the exercises and use the tools that are very effective in totally transforming their lives.
All right, and the website is outerchild.net.
I have a workshop at Kripalu coming up in May.
Oh, great.
Oh, that's near here. It's in
Yes,
Massachusetts.
Let's tell everybody where it is.
It's May 8th in Massachusetts, Kripalu, in Lenox, Massachusetts, and it's for 3 days. It's the weekend, and it's a life-changing workshop.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful area, by the way.
Beautiful. All right, so do write to Susan. Tell her you heard it right here on Patricia Raskin Positive Living, and she'll put you in her database. Sign up for her workshop. We'd really love that. Yes.
Susan, are you finding that there's an increase in this issue because of what's going on economically as well, that
Yep.
it's bringing out more and more anxiety with people?
All of any kind of stress
Yeah.
triggers all
any
this
kind of
outer
stress.
child behavior.
Interesting.
So, Susan, before we go, what would be one thing you would tell somebody to do, the first thing they do when they feel abandoned?
They have to acknowledge their feelings. They have to learn to accept that the feelings are human. There's nothing wrong with them. And then work from there to love themselves and embrace their own feelings.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. Tell us again how they can find you.
On abandonment.net, on outerchild.net, these are nets to catch outer children and all abandonment survivors throughout the world.
And your book, I'm ordering your book. Is it off Amazon or on your
yes,
website?
Yes, it's on Amazon and Kindle. You can get it in any different which way.
Oh, wonderful.
And it picks up where the abandonment books leave off in really focusing on those self-defeating patterns that sabotage relationships.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And thank you so much for being on.
Oh, it was my
really.
Pleasure.
Thank
you, Susan.
All right, Susan. Now stay on for a minute if you would. Just want to tell you all about a couple of things that are happening, and actually something that is happening right now and today. Today is the Discover You Expo, and it is being held at the third event, third annual. It's being held at Twin River Event Center in Lincoln. I will be there at 3:30 speaking.
Very good.
There are over 100 exhibitors and 25 speakers and demonstrations, so do come to that. And then I'm very excited to be presenting at the RIBX, which is the Rhode Island Business Expo, May 3rd, with Paula Marshall. Paula Marshall, as you know, is a featured
Paula
guest.
A. Marshall,
Paula
yes.
A. Marshall right
Not
here.
the
She is
actress.
and she is the CEO of Bama Companies, and they make all the apple pies and all the
Fantastic
dessert
lady.
products for McDonald's and many other fast food chains around the
wonderful.
world. She's incredible, and she's going to talk about finding the soul of big business, and we're going to have a gathering afterwards. So please write to me about that. patriciaraskin.com. I'd love to put you on my email list. It would be really my pleasure. And again, just want to say one more thing about Susan Anderson. Anyone, and this is a personal endorsement, and I'm proud to make it, Ron.
Yeah.
If you are going through abandonment of any kind, Susan also does personal consultations, and she is well worth it. She picks it up immediately. She'll give you tremendous imagery, and she helped me tremendously going through a tough time.
I think it's interesting that she's talking.
Susan, I hope you heard that, because it's all true.
Well, I think in the conversation we had with her just today.
And she's on.
Yeah, no, I know. You realize that there's help to be had for this issue.
Absolutely.
And that, in fact, if I if I'm correct in sort of restating a little bit, what she's saying is that you can turn it around by understanding the patterns that you've established.
Absolutely.
And by writing some things down and trying to change the way you look at your life. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
To know that this help.
And Susan, you also have individual consults, correct?
Yes.
All right, so people can contact you and write to you if they're interested in individual sessions.
Right.